Harnessing the power of social media as a college applicant. That is the topic of today's video. My name is Craig Meister. I'm a college admissions coach. You can learn more about me and how you can work with me one-on-one throughout the entire college admissions process on my website, which is collegemeister.com. Today, we're going to talk about a topic that often is broached with teenagers in a very austere and very demeaning and very negative way, which is social media. And for so long, so many college counselors, high school educators, parents will admonish and have admonished their students not to have a social media account or not to say bad things on social media. It will come back to haunt you. And I agree that you don't want to put out in the world anything that is going to reflect poorly on your character. However, I do not go so far as to say don't have an online persona. Because for many college applicants, many high school students who are applying to selective colleges and universities, they in fact would be benefited by having an online persona on at least one of the social media websites out there. And so not only today, but over the course of the coming days, I'm going to do a 5-part series discussing the power of social media if you want to be a savvy and successful college applicant to selective colleges and universities in the United States. This is not a zone where you should feel like you're going to be afraid of social media. I want instead for you to learn the benefits of social media for you. And that does not mean you should go tonight and start a social media profile on every social media page out there, on every social media site out there. Instead, what I'm basically saying is I want you to be picky and choose accordingly as it relates to where you should have an online space for your interests, your passions, and just you. And so today we're going to start talking about one of the social media platforms. But again, we're going to talk about a number of the big ones over the coming days. So before I talk about the social media platform I'm going to talk about at length today, which is LinkedIn, I'm going to take a step back and also just state that the goal here is you harnessing social media for positive effect. I fully agree, and I want to make very abundantly clear that do not dabble in social media for the purposes of college admissions. If you are not already on social media and you're a very happy, well-adjusted individual, there's no need to go into social media. In only very specific cases would I say that social media would benefit you. And we're going to start today with LinkedIn because I think actually LinkedIn, of all the social media platforms out there, really has the biggest bang for your buck. Obviously, there's no cost to join LinkedIn. But interestingly, unlike the other social media platforms that we will be discussing later in this series, LinkedIn actually has, as of today, it could change, but as of now, from what I understand, LinkedIn actually requires you to be 16 years old in order to join LinkedIn. Whereas the other social media platforms we will be discussing in the series require you to only be 13. And that's very interesting. And it's interesting that I'm starting with the one that requires you to be 16 as opposed to the ones that require you only to be 13. Because I think that this is sort of the lowest hurdle to entry, if you will. And therefore, actually, the one that makes the most sense for the most applicants to really seriously consider LinkedIn. For those who do not know, LinkedIn is basically a professional social media site. It's where people go when they want to network or connect with people potentially in their industries, working for companies or nonprofits, or in fields that align with the field or company or nonprofit that they're working in or with. So a lot of people have very professional personas on LinkedIn. And so that's why I want to start here, because I don't want you to have an unprofessional persona. I want you to not necessarily be uber professional either, but I want you to sort of keep it clean and keep it nice and for lack of a better word, keep it professional when you are posting anywhere that will be forever online. And so starting with LinkedIn makes a lot of sense because it forces you to sort of sit on the edge of your chair with your back upright and your chest out, and you're presenting there to an audience that are professionals, that is made up of professionals. And therefore, you have to sort of raise your level of play to also present on there. Why is LinkedIn good as a college applicant to a selective college or university? LinkedIn, I like because you are going to have a professional photo on there, hopefully. You're going to have maybe a one sentence sort of bio summarizing the field you're interested in or the major or career you're interested in. And then if you have some internships or some professional associations, like with a nonprofit through maybe a club or activity at your school, you can put a couple of those in either volunteer experience section or a section related to professional experience, even if it's an internship. So you can actually really start a professional LinkedIn profile just like a 22-year-old could, even though you were only in high school, depending on, of course, what it is you have actually accomplished or not. Now, if you are someone who has not accomplished anything in the extracurricular realm throughout high school, you're probably not going to be a successful applicant to a selective college or university anyway. However, if you are already within striking distance of getting into a selective college or university, you have high scores, you have strong grades and rigorous courses, you probably are in a potpourri of different extracurricular activities, it makes sense that you would actually have some good fodder for LinkedIn. Again, whether it be in a volunteer section or a professional experience section, you could start building those out with entries. Now, the entries you're going to be filling out on the LinkedIn profile for you are not going to be structured in exactly the same way as you're going to develop entries on your extracurricular resume for your college applications. The format will be, of course, slightly different. Now, I will say that it is probably beneficial for you to actually have a really strong extracurricular resume before you even start your LinkedIn profile, and to develop a very strong extracurricular resume for the purposes of succeeding in the selective college admissions game. I strongly recommend you click on the link below this video to my very short course. It's less than an hour in length, which is entitled How to Build an Extraordinary Extracurricular Resume. That course will teach you everything you need to know about providing the type of content within each entry that you need to provide in order to start developing a really strong extracurricular resume for the purposes of the common application or other applications that you're going to be applying on when you apply to selective colleges or universities later on. And that may even help you down the line if you actually need a resume for an internship or summer job or pre-college program, what have you. But that resume would be lovely to have in your hand, or at least on a Google document or on a Word document, before you actually start developing a profile on LinkedIn. So again, if you're interested in that, that was sort of like a little tangential thought. You can go below this video to the link to that course, which is, again, How to Build an Extraordinary Extracurricular Resume. And I think you will benefit from it quite a bit. Again, it's very cheap, it's very short, and it's very, very valuable. So talk about bang for your buck. How to Build an Extraordinary Extracurricular Resume is just that. So let's say you have that resume and now you're actually creating your profile on LinkedIn. You're going to have at least a few things to put on there in terms of LinkedIn entries. And of course, you go to a high school most likely. Even if you're homeschooled, you can put your high school name on your LinkedIn profile. And you can really gussy this thing up even more. I mean, depending on what you may be interested in, maybe you've started your own online business or website, you could put those on there as well. You could have a really nice professional LinkedIn page. And the reason this is valuable is, let's say they're reading your application at Penn in 16 months, or at Stanford, or at University of Texas, or at UF, or Northwestern, or Brown, whatever it might be. And they're reading about you, and you have beautiful grades, you have beautiful scores, you have beautiful essay. They may say, is this kid too good to be true? This kid is beautiful. And sometimes, I don't say this happens a lot, but sometimes they may be like, I like this kid a lot, or I don't like this kid a lot, or I feel like it's too perfect. It's something so eerie about this. I don't know. They're thinking something about you. They may just go onto their computer. They may go onto Google or DuckDuckGo or whatever it might be, and they may type in your name. And wouldn't it be nice if they type in your name and the first Google search or DuckDuckGo search entry or return that comes back is to your LinkedIn profile that you've curated, that you've made look professional, that you have also made beautiful, just like the rest of your application? That would be very beneficial to you, because they're going to see that it's not just that you airbrushed your whole life for your college application and that the rest of you is some like this morass of imperfection. No, the first link on a search engine also takes this admissions officer to a page that is in very much the same professional, impressive manner produced as your college application is. That's going to be very beneficial, as opposed to a link to, God forbid, a social media page that doesn't necessarily present you so professionally, or some other mention of you that you don't curate. Maybe even an article in the newspaper about you, or an online publication about a sports game or championship that you won or you lost. I mean, again, I'm not saying any of those things are bad, but I would much rather the first thing that an admissions officer sees when he types your name or she types your name into Google be something you've authored from start to finish, which, again, in this context, would be your LinkedIn profile. So I'm a big believer that the vast majority of Ivy League level college applicants, or those aiming for top 50 U.S. News and World Report colleges and universities, or universities in that case, if it's the U.S. News and World Report National University list, top, let's say, 50 on the liberal arts list as well. So those are colleges, covering your bases. If you're applying to a selective college or university, let's say that the most selective 100 to 250 in the United States of America, really, I would say 99 times out of 100, why not have a LinkedIn profile? You probably have enough to put on there. It doesn't have to be a long LinkedIn profile. It can be just a few things. But just a few things is better than not having a LinkedIn profile at all. Because again, if you don't have a LinkedIn profile, the risk is they'll find your name on social media, or on Google, or on DuckDuckGo, or whatever other search engine they use. And it will be on a page that you have not curated, or a page that maybe you're less proud of. All right. So the LinkedIn page is my attempt to help you put your best foot forward, high up in the search rankings potentially. Put your very specific name. You may even want to use your middle initial if that's how you're going to present yourself on the college application too. This is going to be, I think, a real net positive for you. It will at least be not a net negative. And that's key. You don't want to have a net negative on social media across any platform if you end up harnessing it in your high school years. But again, LinkedIn is the place where I would say you're in the best position to, through sort of social and peer pressure that is LinkedIn, and sort of the way in which people put their LinkedIn profiles together, most likely have a net positive social media presence. And so that's why we've started with LinkedIn today. I think you all pretty much should try to do a LinkedIn page. Again, the only reason you should not have a LinkedIn profile at 16 or 17 years old, or definitely by 18 years old when you've applied to college or are applying to college, is if you have literally nothing to share about your professional interests, your academic interests, your academic life. You can even put honors and awards on there. So if you're going to be a real competitor for a selective college or university, LinkedIn is definitely a go-to for the vast majority. So that's why we've started at LinkedIn. Again, I'm going to do future videos about different social media sites and the pros and cons of those. But I see basically all pros to LinkedIn because it's going to get you in a professional space. You may even network with people who are interested in you, and you interested in them, for the purposes of professional networking or just connecting. And this could serve you well into the future. Again, in the future, I don't know how long LinkedIn will be in this predominant position as it relates to a professional social media site, but I don't see any real competitors. Whereas obviously in the other social media sites we'll be talking about later in the series, there are more overlaps between them. Whereas again, LinkedIn, pretty much has a monopoly right now as it relates to social media for the professional space and for the professional. Whereas all the other social media sites basically look at you as a person, not as a professional. And you can go in any number of directions. And then that freedom is dangerous in many cases for a high school student. And that's why we will talk about more cons as the series progresses. But today, for this video, I think LinkedIn can be just a win-win, a real positive in your column, or plus in your column. I think that's the right way to say it. And so if you have any doubts, though, look at other people's LinkedIn profile once you're creating your own to make sure you're not sharing too much information that is personal in nature. And you're gonna hopefully keep it professional, as if it were basically an online resume. If you're not going to put it on an extracurricular resume, or if you would never consider putting it on an extracurricular resume, you probably shouldn't put it on LinkedIn. So again, those guardrails really hem you in socially, peer pressure wise. I don't usually like peer pressure, but I think for a kid who's dipping his toes or her toes into social media land, I think that there are more guardrails with LinkedIn that are going to make it a safer space for you as well. Again, another term I don't usually like to use, safe space. But again, for this purpose, I think it's a good thing as you're wading into the wonder world of social media and harnessing it to positive effect for the purposes of developing an online persona that if colleges do want to trust but verify by going onto a search engine and searching you up, they're going to find something that's going to augment your college application as opposed to raise more questions in any way about you or your application or the veracity of anything else shared throughout your college application with that particular college admissions office, and therefore that college admissions officer. Because at least as of this video filming or videotaping, there are real people still reviewing your college applications at most of these colleges, not AI. And as a result, they could be curious about you. They may want to learn more about you. And I'd love if they could find at the top of those search results your LinkedIn profile, which you're going to carefully curate to be a net positive for you over the entire college application process and beyond. Stay tuned. We're going to do more in this series, and as they populate into YouTube, I will put the links to those below this video as well, so you can find them in a very efficient and effective manner. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel. Again, my name is Craig Meister. If you like this video, you can also go to my website, which is collegemeister.com. Until next time, stay safe, stay well, and most importantly, stay stress-free throughout the entire college application process.